And that's why I look at someone like Kane Williamson, and that's why I think he's so good, is that anything can happen in a game. He can play a miss, he can nick off and get dropped, whatever. He genuinely approaches the next ball blank.
Yeah.
Whereas that was something I always struggled with. If I played a bad shot, I'd take that shot into the next ball, and it would eventually spiral out of control, and I'd get out. Whereas Kane can play a miss 3 times, get hit in the box, French cut 1 for 4, and then you sort of see him get forward, play a defensive shot, and you realise that he's actually forgotten about what's happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great little template for any, I suppose, young batsman coming through, is if you can forget your imperfections and just behave like you're the best player on the field, then I think that's definitely a good way to go forward.
Yeah. Speaking of Kane and the great players that you've probably played against and played with, are there any other lessons that you've learned from them, or they've given you advice, or you've seen them do certain things that you're going, wow, that's world class, or that's why they're at the top, whether it's AB or MS Dhoni or Kohli or Root or Baz McCullum or guys that you've seen?
I think the first thing I think of when you mention all those names is that they're actually all authentically themselves.
Yeah.
You compare Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers, Graham Smith, Hashim Amla, all these guys that you'd say are great players, Kevin Peterson. I don't think any of them are very similar to each other.
No.
I think they all bat in their own way, they all play their own shots, they have their strengths and weaknesses. What they do is they don't give it away. When they get into a position where they've got the upper hand, they don't play a stupid shot and get out. They actually grind you, and you have to bowl a great ball to get them out. And they just play to their strengths. I was very lucky enough to play a year of IPL with Kevin Peterson and be able to watch him train. And yeah, he worked hard. He didn't do anything outlandish at trainings. He just would get into a situation in a game where he'd get underway and he'd get to a position where he could ram home his advantage, and he did. You never saw him, get out of an over where he had an advantage, just letting the other team get out of the over. He'd always try and hit a 6 or try and move around in the crease and make them make a hard decision. And Kane is probably the opposite. Kane just plays in his little bubble as much as he can and is unaffected by anything outside of that, and just tries to bat for as long as possible. And these guys, they still have bad days. They still play bad shots. They still make mistakes. But it's the way they move forward from those mistakes. They get into the next ball. Their weight still transfers forward even after they get hit in the head. They just have an ability to forget and move forward. And that's something I always like to focus on now when I'm watching someone I think is a really, really good player, Steve Smith, like Virat Kohli. I love seeing when they play a bad shot, when they make a bad decision.
Yeah.
And I always try and really focus on that and go, that is a bad decision.
Yeah.
And it's like watching a professional golfer. I love seeing a professional golfer shank one of the trees because it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
But it's about how they recover from that. Professional golfer chips out and then gets up and down for par, whereas we spend 3 shots at the trees hacking trying to get out.
There's a gap there. I'm gonna hook it around the tree, and
I've somehow just turned into Tiger Woods. I'm gonna play like a low cut around this tree and get it to rise over the bunker. And, oh, surprise, surprise! I just fattened it 3 fairways over. Like, of course I have. I don't have the ability to do that. But whereas they just go, okay, that's happened. What do I have to do now?
Yeah.
And whether it's chip out or face out a maiden or whatever, they just get it done. And there's no question of, does everyone think I'm not good enough because I've made that mistake or whatever. It's just park that, move forward, bang.
Next one.
Well, next one.
Yeah.